Hi, do you know most of life problems, emotional, physical, they can be traced back to our childhood experiences. In this video, I share about what are childhood wounds, types of childhood wounds, and how I came to learn about childhood trauma. So stick around and let us unpack this.
Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Councillor Lois Wambui, and I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in to this channel. And I want to request you, if you have not subscribed, kindly consider subscribing. Just tap the red subscription button and subscribe, and also turn on the notification bell so that you are notified every time I upload a video. I'm so happy, I'm so excited. It's been a while. I've not been here for quite some time, but I thank God He has given me another opportunity to come and to talk to us. And today I want to talk about something that has been in my heart for quite some time, and that has to do with childhood wounds, healing the inner childhood work, and I want us to look at what is an inner child, how do childhood wounds come about, and what can we do to heal these inner wounds. And even before we go there, I'd like to give you maybe a short backstory of how I came to know about all these inner child and inner wounds things. And I discovered my inner child when I was doing my undergraduate. I did psychology and counseling for my undergraduate, and one of the units, one of the requirements for graduation was personal therapy. And I remember I went through my course, but there's something interesting I noted during my course. And there is this unit on child therapy. And I could tell I was really not connecting with child therapy. I didn't quite like the unit, and I was asking myself, what is it? I'm really not, there are units you do and you feel you are really flowing. But with child therapy, the more I tried, the more the more we talked about childhood, children, such things, they were really not connecting with me. But all in all, I went through the course, and now after I finished, towards the end of my studies, I went for my personal therapy. So I went for my personal therapy before I went for my internship. And the reason why I did this, because I wanted to know, my main motivation of going for personal therapy was not really for my therapy, but I really wanted to know what goes on in a real therapy room. How does a therapist work? What are some of the things that a therapist do? What makes of a successful therapy session? So those were some of my motivation while I was going for therapy. But when I went there, the first session obvious is building rapport with your therapist, getting to know each other. Nothing much really happened. And then the second therapy session, now that is when now the actual therapy began. And at this point, my therapist began from the beginning, from the genesis. And she started asking about my childhood. That's where we all began. And when we were talking about my childhood, and she encouraged me to be as open as I can, and to talk about everything that I can remember concerning my childhood. And I started talking. And as I was talking, I realized that I was getting emotional. I'm really not the emotional type, and I came to realize that was part of my childhood wounds. Not being vulnerable, not being open, holding a lot of things. That was part of the wounds that I had carried, until such a point that I was doing my therapy. And so this personal therapy was one of the most eye-opening events of my life, because I came to learn that as much as I grew up, the child within did not grow up. And the things that had happened in my growing up, they remained there. They were not so, they were just pushed in the subconscious. And I came to realize that I had repressed a lot of feelings, and I had repressed anger, I had repressed resentment. I didn't know, I actually didn't know, because on the outside I was laughing with people, on the outside I was okay with everyone, but the more my therapist probed about my childhood, the more I realized that I really needed to work on the on my childhood and the child that is within me. Yeah, so that is to say that we all have a child within. We all have a child that we carry along with. And some of us, when we remember about our childhood, some of us, it's a flowery experience, full of fun, full of good things, full of, everything that makes for a good childhood. But some of us on the other side is not the same. There are others who remember their childhood with, with a lot of pain, neglect, abandonment, abuse, and such kind of things. And this is to let you know that the child may, the child always remain inside with the unresolved wounds. And it's so important for you to understand that the status of your child, how your child is right now, it dictates a lot the quality of the life that you are living. If you find yourself highly reactive, if you find yourself with low self-esteem, if you find yourself being a people pleaser, if you find yourself you're always a perfectionist, if you find yourself you are always, it is very difficult for you to say no to a situation. If you find yourself you are always depressed, if you find yourself, you are always anxious, you always want to toe the line, it is either this way or no way. You always want to remain, a good person. That reflects back on the kind of childhood that you had, and the kind of wounds that you are carrying with you. And maybe even without elaborating further, because I'll come to elaborate in another video. There are types of wounds. There are 4 types of wounds, and we have trust wounds. And these are people who really find it difficult to trust. We have abandonment wounds. These are people who fear being abandoned because they carry with them the abandonment wounds. We have neglect. Neglect wounds. There is a difference between abandonment and neglect. Abandonment means somebody goes and they are not there for you. The caregiver is not there. They either died or they just walked out of your life. But when you talk about neglect, it means they are there, but they don't show any interest with you. So there's a difference between neglect wounds and also the abandonment wounds. So those are 3 types of wounds that we will find ourselves carrying with us. And in another video, I will be discussing how you can know you have a trust wound, you can know you have a neglect wound, you can know you have an abandonment wound, and another 4th wound that I will remember. And maybe you can ask yourself, how do these wounds come about? How do childhood wounds come about? So there are things that happen, and let me tell you, life, we all know life is not smooth. Even for children go through a lot. Children get sick. Children, they are bullied in school. They are bullied even by their playmates when they are playing outside. But there are heavy issues that comes, and it really, kicks that child off balance. And these are some of the things that bring the long-lasting wounds. We are not saying that the small issues, they don't bring wounds. By all means, being abandoned can bring wounds. Being neglected can bring wounds. Having a caregiver who is not attached to you, it can bring wounds. But there are other even bigger things. And I would like to encourage anybody who has gone through abuse as a child. It could be physical abuse, it could be sexual abuse, it could be emotional abuse. If you went through any of those, you can just recall your childhood, how it was. If you went through any of those kind of abuses, it is important for you to see a professional therapist. I'll also be leaving my contacts there so that we can talk and you are able to unpack some of these things. So abuse, any kind of abuse can contribute to childhood wounds. We also have things to do with bullying, being bullied in school. We also have punishments, and especially our older generation, you know, our mothers, our fathers, sometimes they give us stories and you know, it's so traumatizing. Like I remember somebody telling me how their father was so strict. And you know, at this time they are speaking it jokingly, and you know, sometimes they will brag that it is because of those things that they are so disciplined right now, or it's because of, you know, they learned to toe the line, they are what they are. But what they don't know is that they are harboring a lot of trauma inside of them. And you know, this person was telling me that in most villages there is what we call, it's called itara in my tongue. And this itara is like a shade or a shelter. And in this shelter, it is built on top of the, you know, the fire is down here, and then this shelter is built on top here. And this is where now we put the firewood. After they have fetched the firewood, they come and put it there in the itara so that it can dry. And somebody was telling us that their father would come when they have done something. Their father would come and he would put them on top of that shelter. And you know, sometimes it would be so hot. Sometimes the firewood is producing a lot of smoke, and they would get, it would be so uncomfortable. And the father would make them to stay there for maybe even 2 hours as a form of punishment. And you know, you can imagine the kind of trauma. You can imagine the kind of trauma that can bring to a child, even a teenager. So, severe punishment is they are the things that can that has brought about a lot of trauma. That's why you see so many adults, they are walking around, but they are so bitter. They, at the slightest provocation, this person will have outbursts of anger. This person will react so extremely. And let me tell you, learning and knowing how to heal your inner child is one of the biggest blessings that you can ever have in this life. Because the child within, when the child within has healed, you are able even to embrace the things that come about in life. You are able to separate yourself from even the people who took you through the traumas, and you are able to see that some of them, they did the best they can. You know, we can't blame our parents. They also had their issues. I remember one of the books that really helped me when I was dealing with all this trauma, and I know I will come and I will do a review on it. It is called It Didn't Start With You. I can't really remember the author. I think I will write it in the comment section. It Didn't Start With You. Reading that book, it made me realize that the wounds that were inflicted to me by my mother or by my father, it didn't start with them. It started even with my grandmother, and even my grandmother. It didn't start with her. It started even with her mother. And you know, you see, it is what we call the generational patterns. So you find yourself that even the person you might be blaming right now, you might be listening to me and maybe blaming your mother or blaming your father. I wouldn't want you to do that, because even for them, they also had issues they were dealing with from their parents, and even their parents, they had issues they were dealing with from their parents' parents. So healing inner wounds and healing childhood wounds, it is something that is very paramount to every one of us. And I will be telling you how you can heal these inner wounds, because it's so important. After you have realized, and after you have looked through your life, and there are some questions that I always ask somebody, and maybe you will allow me to read them through, and as I read them through, you can know, am I identifying with this? For example, question number 1 something like I experience stress and anxiety whenever I think about doing something new. Can you relate? I tend to be a people pleaser and lack strong identity. I feel more alive when I am at conflict with people. There are people who, when they are conflict, that's when now they feel that all is well. I feel guilty for standing up for myself. I am driven. I am driven to always be a super achiever. I constantly criticize myself for being inadequate and unworthy. I am rigid and a perfectionist. I have problems starting or finishing things. I am ashamed of expressing strong emotions such as sadness or anger. I struggle to say no. I have never felt close to my mom or to my dad. Those are some indicators. It's not it is not an exhaustive list, but those are some of the indicators that I can give you that can make you to identify if you can affirm to some of those things. For example, you can look and say, anyway, I feel I am not comfortable standing up for my rights. People can just step on me. I know it is not supposed to be like that, but it feels like I don't have a voice. I'm not able to voice my rights. You are not able to say no. So these are some of the indicators that can show you that the inner child is still harboring some of these wounds. And maybe you may be there and asking me, where are these wounds? Is this something maybe I can do an operation of my heart and I will find it so wounded? These wounds, they are in your subconscious. And the way the brain works is so interesting. The subconscious is the largest part of your brain. It is the largest part of your thinking. Whatever you have in the conscious, whatever even you are thinking about right now, whatever you can recall right now is just a tip of the iceberg. The highest percent, you know how an iceberg is? There's a tip and then there's all this layer that is submerged under the water. Whatever is submerged, that is now what we call the subconscious. The memories of your childhood, the failures, the triumphs, everything you can recall about your life, it is recorded. It is like a computer. It is like a program in your computer, and everything has been programmed there. And that's why it is so easy for you to recall something in your childhood more than it is to recall something that was done recently. For example, you can think about a song that you used to sing in your childhood. Sometimes it will come word by word by word by word, but you start recalling something that was taught a few months or a few weeks ago. You'll find difficulty. Why? Because the subconscious programs, and it programs from as early as 0 to 5 years. Those we call those the formative years of a child, and they are very, very important. Whatever you feed the mind of that child, it remains, and that's why we all have to be very careful, especially for us who are raising young children. And I think I'll give my experience in another video of what I am intentionally doing as a mother to make sure that in the long run, my children will not have to heal inner wounds, even when they become teenagers and when they become adults. So it is so important for you to follow this channel, to subscribe to this channel, and also to follow me on my social media. Everywhere, Counselor Lois Wambui, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, Counselor Lois Wambui, because I'm all about healing. I know how healing can do to your life, to the quality of your life. Once you are healed from the inside out, the quality of your life is going to drastically improve, and you'll find that you are no longer, you don't react as fast. you don't you are not always on your edge, you are not always anxious, you are able to collect yourself, you are able to see things from a different perspective. Somebody once said, heal so that you don't always have to look at things from, you know, from a warped mirror, because when you are not healed, everything is a trigger and you always feel like all is not well. Therefore, there are around 4 types of wounds. I'm not going to really expound on them. I'll be expounding in another video. But we have, for example, trust wounds. These are people who really find it difficult for them to trust. We have abandonment wounds. We have neglect wounds, and another fourth one that that I'll be discussing. So please keep it here. Counselor Lois Wangui YouTube channel. Subscribe. In the next video, I'll be talking about how to heal. How exactly can you heal this inner child? Remember, this is not a one-day journey. This is not an overnight journey. It is something that we'll be looking into as time goes by. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, like, comment. I will really, really appreciate, and also turn on the notification bell and give this video a thumbs up. And if it has helped you, also share with somebody. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.